And welcome back to the stream, everybody. Hope we didn't keep you waiting too long through the intermission. Thanks for sticking around, and of course you would, because we have a special guest for you right now, and it's a super honor and privilege to introduce Amir to the stream. How are you?
Hello, I'm here.
That's good. So
welcome, Amir.
Look, we know that. Oh, just 1 second. I'm just going to check something with production. Haley, do you want to do some interviewing for our good sir?
Sure, absolutely.
One moment.
I'll start off some questions here.
Thanks.
It looks like... Okay, looks like the sound's fine. All right, so first of all, Amir, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you very much. Yeah,
that's great. Anyway, question number one.
Question number. Here we go. Oh God. All right.
All right, so I think a lot of people, this is a race. All the people watching are interested in speedrunning Hades, I'm sure. And I guess my first question is, when it came to the initial concept and design of Hades, how much thought process did you put into speedrunning the game potentially? Like, did that ever enter your mind at all, or was it just kind of something that came about on its own?
Yes, I'm going to answer your question, but first, thank you for everyone who is saying nice things in the chat and who likes our games and is playing them deeply. And thank you guys for hosting this event. I watch a lot of esports and I watch a lot of events, but I never really thought that one of our games would be a good fit for some of that kind of stuff. And seeing that happen with Hades has been awesome and surprising. Obviously, people have speedrun Bastion and Transistor before, but it's really, really cool to see people speedrun Hades. To your question specifically about speedrunning, so with Hades, we did have like an intentional design goal around like performative play, just making the game feel like if you were a certain type of player with a certain type of skill, that the game had enough options that you could sort of express that in the game. And so that was always a thing. I think the speedrunning specifically is something that kind of just ended up happening naturally over time, especially when we started putting the time in.
I know. Yeah.
When we added the times to the victory screen in development, then it was like, oh yeah, I guess people will want to do this. Also think the design of Tight Deadline, which actually originally came from the co-founder of Supergiant, Bastion, Gavin, who's the co-founder of Supergiant, he came up, I think, with the design for Tight Deadline because he's really interested in having a packed thing that didn't slow the game down, because so many of the packed options that we originally released were about like making harder decisions, making the enemies a little bit hit harder and live longer and stuff like that. So Tight Deadline was kind of like the opposite, which leaned into how a lot of people ended up playing the game. So yeah,
interesting thought process.
Yeah. So there's a lot of intentional design around performative play. So, and it's actually one of my favorite things about the high heat community and many people who are in the chat right now is how much, like I really like how almost like a fighting game, people are like spear mains or whatever. And you have someone like you, Haley, who can play basically everything. But it's cool to see when people are pushing the heat so high that they end up having to specialize. And I hope that a part of that specialization is because they're actually like really into how that weapon feels and stuff like that, and not just because it's what's effective for them, but hopefully it's a combination of those things.
I mean, my personal thought is that there's probably obviously some weapons and aspects that definitely lend better success in those high heat scenarios. There are probably some that you just probably couldn't do just because, if you're running everything, which you pretty much have to do at high heat, forced overtime 40, all that stuff, you can't have slow, like damage output. You can't have so many things all of a sudden. So I do feel like the pool of possibilities is slowed. So I'd be interested to know if that kind of informs your balance decisions in any way.
Yeah, so everything informs our balance decisions. We're looking at stuff at the kind of at the people who are just starting Hades. We're looking at stuff at the high end. We're looking at our own play experience. We're looking at a lot of data, which is the one thing maybe that people don't have access to that everyone else can see. And so for us, that combination of stuff makes it is just all the different pieces that inform our decisions around it. There isn't like necessarily a specific goal around like everything must be viable at 51 heat or something like that.
Of course.
It's not really really possible from a balance perspective, huh?
Yeah, right. Like, or let me just say that that's not like the primary goal. It would be awesome if that was the case, but there's a part of that that's on the design, but actually there's a part of that that's on the players. I am constantly surprised by this game and by what people are able to do with it. In update 10, in the 90 Night update, I had what I thought were for sure the 3 most broken things in the game. I was wrong about all of them, and it was spread fire. So it's just like an example of something where like, and I don't know who discovered spread fire, but that's an example of the type of thing where I'm surprised by a lot of things as we go.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if you might see spread fire hitting a high world record run pretty soon again, actually. I know Vareem's been working on routing a run. I don't know, Amir, if you know what speedrunners do with routing?
Yeah, I'm aware of it. The question I always wonder, when it comes up, is mostly like I'm curious if there is enjoyment doing it, because if there's enjoyment doing it, that's really meaningful to me, more so than what do I think about people doing it.
I think there's both things at play, right? Sorry if you want to, or definitely comment after this, Halion, about it. But my thought on that is, geez, it's a grind, because to get the best time possible, you probably have to route a whole run, which means you're going through so many potential possibilities through however many chambers, 40 something or whatever chambers at the end, plus. And then also you have to be able to execute that without any mods perfectly by the end of it. So that part, the preparation process, takes a long time. But on the other hand, you're going to achieve something really cool, which keeps you driven. And also it's kind of exciting to craft your own build and make that work. What do you think, Halion?
Geez, I mean, routing is such a hefty topic, not to mention it's really hard to explain probably. In terms of like satisfaction levels, it's a different kind of satisfaction. It's the satisfaction of executing basically a list of tasks perfectly versus getting lucky boons, getting lucky rooms, things like that. It has its own level of satisfaction, and I think we do have people, especially in chat right now, that do get some satisfaction from actually doing the actual route. Like they do all the trial and error. They find out, okay, I'm going to do this. That way I can get a chaos gate. Then that way I can get a fountain room. Then I can get this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think there's some people out there that do actually find quite a bit of satisfaction in it. Probably not that many, but I think it's just because it's a really unexplored topic still, kind of.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have a question for you guys before we go to the next one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
What's it like to commentate? How does it feel?
Well,
really
this is my second time ever.
Yeah, we're kind of fresh me too. I've commentated a few other games in very amateur scenarios, but it's fun. It's awesome. And I'm just hoping to get better and better. Kind of like, I'm sure you guys too, right, have watched a lot of esports in the past and have friends involved and whatnot. So taking inspiration from that. Eventually, I'd like to create this production to be to have even more, like bios and better music and audio happening and stuff like that. But the actual process is fun. But the other part is like, I want to be in on the race, so that's a little bit frustrating. But whatever, I can play the game after. What about you, Halion?
I mean, I guess it's fine. I mean, I streamed for almost a full year before we did this, sparsely, but I guess that's what made it kind of okay for me. Otherwise, I didn't take any public speech classes, I was a computer science nerd that didn't speak, so.
Having said that, you present so well because you've done just so much stream practice, I think. Just being in front of a camera is just experience.
Now, what about Amir? You have those no-clip documentaries, tons of them, it turns out. You got all these secret ones, even from the old days. How did you feel talking to the camera then?
Oh, that's even simpler because I'm not actually talking to the camera. So
the producer.
Yeah, I talk to Danny, so I don't have to even think about talking to a camera. Talking to a camera is quite hard. So yeah, it's a different thing.
Are you? Hang on a second. Are you secretly asking, good sir, because you're interested in commentating some races?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'd be happy to join you if you need to start the next one, and we can answer questions as we go or whatever. But yeah, I'm fine with that. For sure. I'm just curious because commentating and playing. So first of all, talking while you're playing is insane. I find that very, very hard, and I have to do it sometimes with developer streams.
Yeah.
And that's a totally different thing if you have to only talk, because then you have to make what's happening on the screen interesting. It's not even your own decisions. So anyway, it's cool.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's one of the reasons I fear streaming and playing at the same time. I don't know how you do it, Haley. True talent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Stream of thought, and those thoughts are not usually the most Christian thoughts, I will admit.
So what we might do, Amir, we'd be happy to have you on for as long as possible, obviously, but we understand you're a busy man and you're just making things happen, and we're also thankful for that. So if you're keen, we'll do a few more interview questions, then interview the new races and get that race started, and then you can just pop off at any time that you need to go.
Okay, sounds good. Do you want me to do like a lightning round answering these questions?
Yeah, all right.
From the viewers?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I grabbed a couple here.
All right, go for it.
Okay.
Carlos would like to ask you. He's a great speedrunner in the community. How do you deal with the insane amount of feedback that you get with the game?
We read it all. We just read it all. It all goes into a sheet, and we read it all. It's
Can I ask?
It's good.
Do you have some sort of filtering or category? Because you've got so many subjects you have to cover off on.
No, there's no filtering. So we just we just read it all. So what's good about that is we hear everything, and from all different types of players about everything that they are thinking about in the game. And the main thing is for us is to have discipline around when we read it and act on it. So it's not like an ongoing process. We do it at certain times. We review all the stuff. We think about what we want to do and how that aligns with our plans and what we'd want to change. I've got my list of things that I've read so far in update number 11 that I'm looking at for 1.0, and I'm thinking about that a lot. And part of the fun is when you get a piece of feedback that vexes you. You get, maybe it even makes you a little upset, and then you realize, oh, that person's probably right. That's probably why this is bothering me. And so, you spend some time thinking about it and try and come up with a solution. Yeah. And yeah, Fox is pointing out how much feedback there is. There's already been, as of the end of July, there were already 1,200 pieces of feedback on the blood price update. So that's not counting the technical beta. So there's just been a lot of stuff to think about and go through.
Yeah,
but it's important. Part of we need to do what we said. We said we wanted to make a game in collaboration with our community, and that's what it looks like.
You know what? And hats off, because I think it's really working, and everyone appreciates and respects it. We see you guys not just obviously on the official Discord and like joining us for streams and stuff now, and popping onto streams, but on Reddit, on Steam discussion threads, everyone appreciates that, and it does make for a better game. That plus with the philosophy of, when it's ready, you release, not committing to an arbitrary, financially driven deadline or a milestone. I think that really works for you too. So having said that, just leading into a question, I understand you might not have a date, but do you have an approximation on when people can expect version 1.0 to come out?
I think we've said later this year. So that's my answer.
Yeah, no sweat. Yeah, that's fine.
Which means every day we get closer.
That's right, and it's probably not in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I've no later this year.
Yeah. All right, Hallie, you want to fire away? You got a few collected there.
We got Jollis Paul in the chat.
Yeah.
I know. I was about to read Paul's question here. He wants to know if
celebrities in this chat, real celebrities.
I know. When I first saw his stream, I thought it was Darren Korb. All right, Haley, fire away.
Paul wants to know if you ever thought about making the hammer upgrade an actual character. Probably, Daedalus is a that could be disconnected.
Yeah,
possibility, right?
So I think a thing here to think for us to think about sometimes is just so you can think about it also kind of like if you took that to the next level, which is like what if every room reward spoke to you. And so one of the things we think about a lot is just like balancing the pace of the game with it. And so from the start, we'd always kind of envision the hammer as something that wasn't a character, even though it's tied to a character. And so for us, it was kind of like a decision early on that I think we're still pretty happy with, because it's giving us what we want in terms of the pace of a run and the mix of things that have characters that speak to you and mix of things that have characters implied in their fiction and backstory. So that's kind of we want like all those different layers, because part of what can build a world is the people you know about and don't see. And that's been true of all our previous games as well. So it's pretty it's kind of important to us to have a narrative at all those different layers.
Just sort of to bring the questions back a little bit towards speedrunning, or a question anyway. Yeah. What's your fastest time? This is actually Hallian's question, by the way, so don't roast me for
it. Stealing it.
What's your fastest time?
Question. What's my fastest time?
Yeah. Or maybe even in the team, right?
Oh, so on the team, the best player is Darren, I think.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. You've said that.
Yeah, Darren, I think, is the only one who has the like high heat clear on a recent build. Actually, though, James is really good too. James is one of the people who does QA with us. James is really, really good. So James probably has the best times on the team. So I have definitely gotten fast times by my own standards, but I don't think I've gotten fast times by the standards of this community.
That's okay.
That's fine.
So, I think I had something sub 20 a few different times, but it really depends on if you're talking about with things that were then released. A lot of this stuff, when it's first made, is quite broken because I need to tune it so we can feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then...
So it's probably fair to say you spend most of your time, design and testing and stuff, and not...
Well, you play the game a lot, yeah. So my particular job on the team is I tune the stuff and I help us coordinate our work, basically. So I'm helping coordinate the team and the work across the team, and then specifically I work on the balance and design of the different parts of the game. And then there's a larger design team I'm a part of that helps make all the content and stuff you experience. Alice, for example, does all the boons and hammers, and Ed does all the enemies and levels, and this is just a subset of what they do. And Greg, all the world design and much of the other types of design, and Gavin as well. So the five of us basically figure all these things out, and then my specific piece of it is to sit there and move numbers around until it feels right.
Yeah. Have you got some complicated, spreadsheet formulas and stuff happening to do some? There's a lot of variables at play, right?
Yeah, not really. Actually, a lot of it is we have some of that actually, but we do a lot of it in the game. Just how it feels in the game and how it's working in the game. It's it's not something where I have to. It's not something where I think like the specific numerical balance is as important as like achieving our goals with the game, which is to basically empower player decision making, to make the game feel really expressive, to have those breakthrough runs and moments, whether it's because of something you learned or because of how things came together for you. And then, my other favorite thing about Hades when it's working is like when you try to do a plan and it doesn't quite come together, but something else about the run still works. And so a lot of it is trying to achieve that with the tuning, most of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got some questions about Snap Nova in the chat.
Yeah, and Amber was very keen for us to ask about that as well. So
yeah, I'm the co-creator of Snap Nova. I stand behind Snap Nova, and we're going to replace all the hammers in 1.0 with snap this and snap that. So
you
heard it here first, folks.
get good. Basically, you guys, the 70 people in chat have the advanced warning. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know. We'll think about it. Part of the fun here is I make something that feels good to me. And I think you can do some pretty expressive and interesting stuff with it. And I've seen people do some pretty expressive and interesting stuff with it. But we'll look forward to your feedback in the community about it. Enter it into Hades feedback and stuff like that, because we're thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I want to have stuff that has that kind of high skill ceiling in it. But if it
absolutely.
it's sort of awkward, it's like not quite there yet. And so looking at it still, like all things.
I think it's a great design and concept. It's and you're right. Like the skill ceiling does, like the skill the player has does make a big difference. It's just like every now and then, I don't know what goes on in people's brains and how they're wired, but if you do that second special when you don't meant to, just understanding the timing of when it's going to be a bounce back or when it's going to be another jump. I think people are probably just finding their feet with that struggle. And of course, every now and then it does bounce somewhere different too, but you see it all in the field.
Yeah, no, totally. And we're looking at it, so it's not one of those things where I'm not aware. We're thinking about it.
Yeah, for sure. No, keep it in, and don't make everything snap over, but keep it in.
I'm not going to go that far.
Hey, you don't have to select the hammer, man. There's usually 2 other options. So
curse slash and cruel thrust. Those are the other 2 usually, right?
Hey, I don't hate on cruel thrust.
Curse slash. I don't know. I guess.
I don't know about that curse slash, Amir.
Actually, this leads into a really good question, I guess. Like, what can you share with, I guess it'd be really interesting to know what hammers and what boons are like least picked and most picked.
Ooh.
I'm not going to say that, but I will say that I know what they are and I'm looking at them. Okay. I can tell you that update 11 is the sort of healthiest the game has been in this regard, in terms of what's at the top and what's at the bottom.
Yeah, interesting. That's great.
And just so my goals with it isn't so like, one goal could be that everything has a 33% pick rate, right? And when everything comes up, everything is sort of equally valued. That's not it's not quite what we're going for. It's close, but I don't mind if some things are picked more than others, and I don't mind if some things are picked less than others, as long as there's a reason to pick them in some situations that are viable and valuable and come up more often. So give you an example. Like, even without changing anything, I've seen hammer pick rates just like fly all over the place because we introduce a new aspect that makes that thing way, way, way more valuable. Yeah. Or Halion or someone makes a video and then it doesn't like influence. That has some influence because people start to discover what is good about it and how to use it. And the stats can also be highly misleading, like because they're so temporal. So for example, the like use rates are heavily influenced in the first couple of weeks by if we made something new, right? So if we like added a new fist aspect, or we added that hasn't happened. But when we added the rail aspect, for example, that created a huge swing in the initial pick rates for a lot of that stuff. So we need to wait for a lot of these things to stabilize and for the players to discover stuff about them.
Yeah, it sounds like the ideal approach, though. Taking into account and understanding that choices can change, but then informing balance and design. It's really good.
Yeah. We just look at all of it.
Halion, sir, have you got more questions up your sleeve? I've got plenty in our list here, so we'll have to cut it down to maybe a couple more.
I'll tune into Twitch chat a little here. Renala would like to ask, and this is sort of a twofold question, you could probably say. She wants to ask, what's Supergiant's philosophy on sticking to a single game? And I guess it probably ties into, are you considering supporting Hades post 1.0 release?
So like our philosophy around sticking to a single game. So for us, we've always had we've always worked on one game at a time. We've never really been a multi-project studio unless you consider supporting all our previous games, because Bastion and Transistor and Pyre have had various levels of things we've had to do, or additional versions we've had to make, and that kind of stuff. So we're like a really small team. So we have to focus our efforts on the things that that we can do. And part of the reason we've been able to do this for more than 10 years is because of that focus, and kind of make sure that the whole team is oriented against a single effort at a time.
I guess that leads into the question then, do you have plans for, I know obviously it's hush-hush, but what is the current thought process going from after version 1.0? Because I'm guessing it won't be, do some bug fixes and then drop it and then go to the next one. Because if this is such a big pickup, right, do you want to kind of, extend on the value of Hades?
For us, like our focus right now is entirely on the 1.0. So, beyond that, we're thinking about maybe taking a break and things like that. But like our focus right now is entirely on that 1.0, and sort of beyond that,
understandable.
I can't even look beyond that right now.
There's so much going on, so I don't even know how you guys are
the finish line,
so well.
right?
You got
we've
happening
had
in the world, right?
We've been working on the stuff that we want to deliver in our 1.0 for a really long time. So that's kind of like the main thing for us. Should we have a race?
Yeah.
I feel so bad.
No, it's fine. I've cleared it with our two racers, JDN and Fox Hope. They're fine to wait, and it's all good. I'm sure they're listening in anyways. But yeah, thanks for staying. Let's triple commentate this one. So let's get our racers in. JDN and Fox Hope, come online.